Hey, Brian Wright Show Nation. Welcome inside the broadcast booth to another edition of the Brian Wright Show. Hope everyone is doing great out there. Hope your February is rolling along. Your 2024 here in Q1 is doing great. Good one for you today. Going to be talking about the difference between motivation and discipline, the 4 psychological stages of focus. Just getting back, if you listen to the prior episode, the prior podcast, I talked about this. Just getting back from an event in Denver. And I talked about what I'm going to be talking about today in more brief fashion. It was one of my slides up there, just talking about motivation, talking about discipline, and talking about these key 4 psychological stages of focus that I'm going to be talking about today. Now, the beauty of today, regardless of who you are out there, you could be a business owner out there. This is going to help you. Somebody that just wants to get more out of your life, employees, maybe your career. You're looking to make more money, advance up the ranks, get promotions, more recognition, whatever it may be. What I'm going to be talking about today absolutely applies to all the above. It's going to help you grow your business. And again, what we teach on here is how you can grow your business and reduce the chaos, the stress, and the ad expense that a lot of times it takes to grow your business. We've all been in that situation where maybe we're growing, but everything is mass chaos, right? It's stressful, and it kind of can take away from the fun of growing. Or we've been in situations where we're not growing the business, and it's still stressful. Obviously, the first one would be better. But I'm a big believer in the businesses we work with and the customers I have that trust me as their business and life coach. It's all about reducing the chaos in our lives, our careers, and our businesses while growing, right? While growing in your life and while growing employees in your career, while growing business owners, entrepreneurs out there in your business. And we're going to give you some really cool stuff today to go back and thrive. Looking for a great one today? Before we get started, let's fire up the music.
Welcome to the Brian Wright Audio Experience, a podcast dedicated to helping entrepreneurs grow their business, make more money, and successfully navigate through the chaos of life. All while working, spending, and stressing less. And now your host. He's a husband, a father of 2, an international business and life coach, and a trusted motivational speaker for some of the most respected companies in the world, such as Invisalign and many others. Brian Wright.
Hey everybody, welcome in. If you're watching over on our YouTube station, hey there. And everybody out there, the YouTube station's new. So as I do this podcast today, it's new. And make sure to go out and subscribe to the Brian Wright Show on YouTube. And I do video all these, so you're more than welcome to watch it. And a lot of these I think are great to play with you and your team. Sit down, watch them together, take notes, do some team building activities, role play some of the things that we talk about on here. You know, a big key that is missing, and there'll be plenty of podcasts about this throughout the years, but a big key that is missing to many of your training programs out there is practice. You know, I love people that go to events and they take notes and they go back, or, you know, they listen to me on this podcast, they go back, and you think these ideas are going to be implemented without role plays, and it's not possible. That is the key to becoming famous inside your doors, is practicing things. Putting your employees in difficult situations, making sure they can role play their way through really every given scenario they're ever going to be placed in via any consumer action they may be dealing with. So make sure to role play. I just listened to our podcast intro, and we're in the process of redoing it. And I listened to it because it makes me laugh, because one of the things it says, I'm a trusted motivational speaker for AlignTechnology, the makers of Invisalign, and other companies as well. And it makes me chuckle because today what I'm going to be talking about is around motivation and how it's bullcrap. Motivation, everybody, is a noun. Motivation is not something you do. Motivation only lasts. The reality of the situation is you're never going to feel motivated to do a lot of the things that you just simply do not like to do. So I had and this is relatively frequent at events, I'll have an audience member come up that has listened to my other podcast for years, the New Patient Group podcast, or this one, or just followed me for years and seen me on stage. And inevitably, I consistently get, Brian, you're the best motivational speaker I've ever seen. And, you know, I know all the big names, the Tony Robbins, the Simon Sinek, all the big names. You trump them all. And, you know, keep up the fight, keep up getting the organic word out. We'll do our best to spread it. And I, of course, tell anybody that comes up and says that, thank you. Like, that means if this is the first podcast you've listened to, all of you keep me going every day. Every voice, every ear out there that is listening to my voice It's so motivating to keep putting out content and knowing that we are having such an impact on your lives, your careers, and your businesses. But I tell everybody, the point of me bringing that up, and I tell everybody that tells me that is, look, I appreciate it. But the reality is motivation's crap. I am not a motivational speaker, again, because that's not something you do. All right. Motivation is a noun and it will always go away. And that is why, athletes, they have coaches. It's why the majority of billionaires have coaches. And it's always amazed me how the brightest, best entrepreneurs in the world have coaches, yet the majority of business owners out there in any industry don't. It's so backwards, and there's such a misconception of coaches, meaning that it's like, I already know how to do that. Well, yeah, most of the stuff, and with professional athletes as an example, most of them know already. The point of the coach is to ensure that it's repetitively trained on, and people are held accountable to doing what we really all know that we need to do, but very few of us will commit to doing it. And that really goes back to the whole issue with motivation to begin with is we all know that we should work out every day. We all know that we should eat well. We all know that we should take good care of ourselves. We all know that we should be good leaders to our employees. We all know that a culture, or at least you should know, is that your culture inside your organization is always the first and foremost marketing investment you should make, and it should be ongoing. Because nothing else you're going to do, pay-per-clicks, any ad, you will never maximize your success unless your internal culture is around the things that we talk about on here. But the reality, all those things and more, is that the majority of humans don't do it. And the majority of humans don't do it because they lose motivation. And we can all relate. You go to an event, you see a bunch of great speakers. The speakers kick ass. They get you all excited. You have 1,000 notes. You're like, we're really going to do this. And then you get back to your business or employees. Maybe you hear a life coach, on there, career coach. Yeah, I'm going to change my ways and offer more value to the business. I'm going to work up the ranks. And we get back and it may last, a day, 5 days, 5 weeks, whatever it may be. And then it all just putters out. And the majority of you out there, the reality is when you come back, you putter out right away because it's such mass chaos in your business. You're the chief everything officer. You don't have things set up in a way that you can work on the business. A lot of business owners and their employees are stuck inside the business every day. It's one of the things over on the New Patient Group podcast in the orthodontic space we talk so much is these practices. They open their doors at 8, they close their doors at 6, they see patients every minute of every day. So they have absolutely zero time to focus on themselves and their own business because they're stuck inside their practice all day seeing patients. And so many of you are just like that. Restaurants, it's like you are so obsessed with, seeing customers that you lose the whole vision of we have to have time ourselves to work on our playbook, to do things together, social media content, all that stuff. And that is really the biggest difference between motivation and discipline. And I'm going to be talking about that as it relates to these 4 psychological stages of focus today. Discipline is having the ability and having the mindset to make intentional decisions to inevitably control and being great at what you can control, being great at the things you can control and focusing on those. And I'm going to give you some examples here as we go through these 4 stages. So you can imagine a cross on a piece of paper, a plus sign, whatever you want to call it. And in the upper right-hand corner of that cross, you would see something that is called focus with a purpose. And a lot of people see that, and you hear so many speakers and so many things out there say, you've got to be focused, you got to be focused, you got to be focused. And while that's true, there's a farce to a lot of it because, again, what psychology talks about in this 4 quadrant is not necessarily being focused on, 1 or 2 things or narrowing your focus. Those things are very important, but that is not what the psychology teaches. The psychology teaches focusing with a purpose. What that is having the discipline to focus on the things that you can control, having the discipline of being consistent, having the discipline of being repetitive, having the discipline to make the intentional choice to wake up in the morning and do 20 push-ups to get started in your workout routine. Now, so many of you out there, and this is funny because it's not funny, but it'll relate as I go through these quadrants. So many people out there, what do we do? And this is called the deep dive effect. I do have podcasts about it. We talk a lot about it on stage and with our customers. The deep dive effect is this overload. It's basically information overload. You seek out so much information that now you can't even make a decision. And I see this with people who want to get in shape and lose weight all the time, right? Should I eat all meat? Should I go vegan? Should I go a combination of both? Which should I do? Weight Watchers? Should I do this? Should I lift heavy? Should I lift light? And you just 6 months goes by. And I'm sure many of you out there can relate to this, is that you end up not doing anything when all you had to do was get your ass on the floor and do 20 push-ups in the morning, before you went and ate breakfast, and then at lunch do 10 push-ups, and then do 10 at night, and then the next day do 21, 11, and 11. And you're off and running while you're studying all these other things. But that's not the way humans work. So focusing with a purpose has nothing to do with motivation. Like I said, motivation is crap. It's a noun. It's not something you do. Discipline is a verb, and it is something that you can actually do. And so many of you out there, humans are not the best decision makers oftentimes. But this focus with a purpose is hard, because if you look right under focus with a purpose and that plus sign or that cross is distraction. And we as a society we've never been this distracted. According to Forbes, and this is just an amazing stat. And if you really think about it, it's so easy to understand, but it's kind of mind-boggling when you first hear it, is that the average human sees more than 10,000 marketing messages on any given day. And you can see how many times you pick up your phone and put your phone down, how many times you're searching on your phone, driving to work with the billboards, radio ads. The list goes on and on and on. And through this distraction causes us to make bad decisions, causes us to lose motivation, right? We see this all the time with business owners. Is like you really want to, hunker down, train your employees on hospitality, verbiage, presentation, and really hunker down on that, because you can control that. You can't control the final outcome. But what happens is that, that you see a pay-per-click ad sent to you in your email when you open it up in the morning. You see a TV commercial advertising something. You're like, oh, I like the way they do that. Maybe I should. Right? And you have all of these distractions. Employees the same way. It's like, I'm going to change my ways to offer more value to the business. So when I go to my leadership team and I ask for a raise, they're more likely to give it. Right? And if I don't get it, I'm going to ask why and what can I do to get it the next time I ask. Right? If that's your intention, great. But if that is something that you have to change your ways, you're only going to stay motivated to do that for so long. And then this distraction comes where, you can't pay a bill one month and you just try to hurry up and you try to make things happen to get your promotion or your raise faster and faster. And we as humans, we make very irrational decisions, which is part of being distracted, is we make decisions based on tomorrow rather than 2 or 3 years from now. And this is becoming, the more instant gratification that happens to society, the more difficult it is to focus with a purpose. And it goes back to the focus with a purpose, according to psychology, has nothing to do with what you are focusing on, but more the discipline to remain engaged with the things that you can control. Self-education out there, everybody. A degree makes you a living. Self-education makes you rich. I see it with so many entrepreneurs, whether they're stuck in their ways or they automatically think their product is the best and they think that's enough, whatever it may be. The self-education part, is reading, is watching YouTube videos, is listening to podcasts like this, and being obsessed with self-learning over the other people. Employees out there, same way. If you want to add more value, maximize the money you're going to make in life. Instead of watching TV at night, read a book. And see, these are decisions that you can control. Right? Now, you may be motivated, if you hear me talk, to go do that for a while, but that motivation is going to go in the toilet. It's guaranteed. And again, depending on what type of human you are, it could go in the toilet tomorrow, or it could go in the toilet in 6 months, whatever it may be, maybe even longer if you're lucky. But having a purposeful focus around self-learning is intentional decision-making that utilizes discipline to do the things that are going to advance you forward and can control what you can control. You can't control the raise employees, but you can control the things around self-improvement, self-education, the decisions you make, the focus you have. You can control those things. Not easy, but that you have control over. If you want to lose weight the same way, you have no control over the weight scale. Zero. Right? But a slow metabolism is not the reason you can't lose weight. It's the decisions you are making and the discipline that you do or do not have around the things that you can control. How much are you working out? What are you putting in your body? Tracking those things. How much time are you spending walking in the morning? Tracking those things, right? Analyzing those things, because if you do have a slow metabolism, it's going to take you longer and it may take a little bit more effort. But a slow metabolism is not the reason you can't get in shape. Just like a down economy is not the reason your business is down. As I said before, all a down economy does is tell you your weaknesses because they're amplified when people don't have as much money to spend. Those weaknesses exist whenever people have money to spend. You just don't have to be as good as a business to make the same amount of money as you do whenever the down economy happens. But this is all these decisions, allowing conditions to inevitably determine the story that you are telling yourself. I'm overweight because of a slow metabolism. I'm not making as much money as the next guy because I didn't get to go to college. My business isn't growing because of, another shop that opened up down the street. Our business isn't making money because of the down economy. Right? You see how that happens. You see how those people, you see how that story that you're telling yourself is creating the condition that then is the reason that you are or are not successful. Meanwhile, there are people in those exact same conditions that kick ass, right? Because leaders anticipate, losers react. It's just that simple. So if you take a down economy, 68% of Fortune 1000 companies, 68% of Fortune 1000 companies were created in a recession or the Great Depression. Because those leaders looked at the condition as an opportunity to really create something special, while the majority of people looked at the condition as a reason to blame their failures. The leaders anticipated it and used it to their unique advantage. And all the conditions out there, if you look at them differently than everybody else, it is a way to create a very unique advantage over other people. So these distractions lead to indecision. And indecision, everybody, is the enemy of progress, period. There has never been, ever, in the history of this world, a fast, successful, growing company that had slow decision makers leading the organization. So many of you out there, so over in the orthodontic space, one of the things I teach is how the clinical brain of these business owners gets in the way of their entrepreneur success. And what I mean by that, when you go into a doctor, any type of doctor, you of course want them obsessed with giving you great results. But a lot of times from an orthodontic standpoint, they're basically a form of an engineer. When they're moving teeth and they're specializing in that, a lot of times they get in their head on how perfect they want that to be. Maybe even more perfect than you even care about. But because they want it so perfect, whenever they go to grow their business, they try to apply that same mindset. And my message to them is the same way with all of you, is that your business will never be perfect. And the quicker you're willing to fuck things up, the faster you're going to learn from them, correct them, and keep it then going with more smooth sailing. And then more issues come up, you fix those, and you keep improving it over the course of time. Meanwhile, the other guy or girl is trying to perfect it before they even launch it. And that's the trick of it all, is the reality is that you could wait 15 years to try to make it perfect, but when you launch it, you're still going to mess it up. So the quicker you make decisions, the faster you make decisions, the more you're okay with screwing up, the better. Because you will fix the screw-ups before the next person has even decided to move forward with anything. And that is how you always stay ahead, amongst many other reasons, of course. You sitting around and taking 6 months to make a decision is the worst thing you can do. One of the biggest traits, best traits of very, very successful entrepreneurs is doing it the opposite of corporations. A lot of times corporations want to run pilots and they want to test it, blah, blah, blah. Entrepreneurs are screw it. I like the idea. Let's roll with it. Let's find a company or two that can help us with it. Let's roll. And they go as fast as they possibly can. Now, are there going to be some screw ups with that? Of course there's going to be. But it will always be better than being indecisive and sitting around doing nothing. And like I said, there has never been a fast, successful growing company with slow decision makers amongst the leadership team. Make quick, fast decisions, which is hard, again, because we're distracted. And we're searching for all this information. And we've got this company telling us this, another company telling us this. My message to all of you is stop your freaking advertising. Reinvest it into your customer. Reinvest it inside your doors. And then if you want to go out and do advertising, you're going to triple your return or find out, you know what, I don't even need this. My customers or my sales force are getting referrals like crazy. The referrals are always a better customer than, random Joe search around online that clicks a pay-per-click ad. I can charge more for referrals than I can some random Joe on the internet that doesn't even have any relationship with me, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Is it a slower burn? Yeah, it's a slower burn. All advertising is the Band-Aid to the wound. If you have to do advertising, it is a red flag that your organic digital marketing presence, your culture, and how you train your team inside your doors is leaky. You got to move fast. Now, we've got focus with a purpose in the upper right-hand corner, right below it, distraction. And then we have indecision. And when we're indecisive, this, everybody, is what causes a lot of your anxiety, a lot of your fear. I can't wait to go into some podcasts around, fears. What's keeping us from achieving our desires and our goals or surpassing them? And a lot of times it's fear. Inevitably our lives, careers, and our businesses, it sits right in between the greatest desires and goals we have that we're trying to achieve and the fears and weaknesses that are keeping us from achieving them. And the more you're willing to face those fears, attack them, right? If you're scared to put your face on a video and you want to build a YouTube station and get your voice out there on Instagram and Facebook and TikTok, etc., the best thing you can do to get over that fear is right now stick a camera in front of your face and go look like a goofball. And obviously, I'm kidding on that part, but that's the big reason why a lot of people don't do it, right? But you're the only one that gives a damn, right? There's two rules on videos. You can't be drunk and you can't be naked, right? You got to be sober. You got to wear clothes on the video. Other than that, there are no bad videos. 800 videos ago when we did it with on our new patient group station, I look at that, I'm like, oh my God, I look like an idiot. But nobody else thinks that. And then over the time, they keep getting better and better and better and better. Why? Because you just jumped in. You weren't indecisive. And the longer you sit and you think, the more this anxiety builds, the more the doubt builds, the more the fear of failure builds. And you can't have that. You cannot be an indecisive leader and expect to be a successful company that is fast growing, period. Now, what indecision inevitably leads to, now we're up in the upper left-hand quadrant of this cross, of this plus sign. And it leads to being detached, which is the single worst place any of us can be in our lives, our careers, and business owners out there, our businesses. Earlier, I was talking about how do you finish sentences, right? We failed because of the down economy. We lost because of the umpire. We lost the game in baseball because of the umpire. This outward blame. A guy down the street opened up a shop for me that is a cheaper price. That's why our numbers are down. So many of you out there talk about things like that. You're building this false story that inevitably creates your story. And when we're detached from our lives too, like I said earlier, I'm not losing weight because I have a slow metabolism. I am not making the money I want because I didn't get to go to college. Meanwhile, 75% of billionaires didn't go to college or they dropped out. So if that's the case, why are you using education as a reason you're not succeeding? You're not succeeding because you're not self-educating. You're not using the discipline that psychology talks about with the purposeful focus. That is the reason that these conditions are kicking your ass. Meanwhile, other people are thriving in the same conditions. I've studied people for so long, and one of the things that I love looking at is, why are some people, they're handed everything. They grow up with money. On the surface, they look like they have everything. You would give anything to be them. And they end up in rehab. Meanwhile, the people, that grew up with nothing at all, poor, abused, couldn't go to college, dropped out of high school, had a kid when they were 15, whatever it may be, grow up and somehow be some of the most influential leaders in our entire world. You look at that and you go, how is that possible? Well, it's possible because of the decisions that people are making that either drive them into a condition that's good or bad, or if you're thrown into a condition like unloving parents, obviously that's not something that you made the decision and you're thrown into, but that's a condition you're thrown into. Decisions will get you out of it. Being detached in our lives, career, and businesses really inevitably is telling ourselves a false story rather than looking in the mirror and saying, I'm the only one that can help me. This is why these political hacks out there that love to tell you that Joe needs to be taxed higher because that's somehow going to help you. How can you fall for this shit when these politicians are all living in mansions and yet they make $100,000 a year? The tax dollars go to them. Nobody ever that's being taxed higher. That has never helped anybody ever in the history of this country improve their life, improve their career, improve their business. It's a false narrative. It's this, somebody else has to be punished in order for me to succeed. They got this, I didn't. It's all bullshit. Stop it. The story has to be, look, we aren't growing. It was a down economy, but I want to learn from this. I want to say, how can we do things differently? How can we organically produce content in our digital marketing? What can I do as a leader to create a better customer-obsessed, employee-obsessed culture? What can I do to train my team in a unique way to enhance their verbiage skills, to place more value on what we offer? Because that's what you have to do if you want to charge a higher price, especially when people do not have the money in a down economy. How can we do this to where when the economy turns to shit again, that we will be okay? That's the story you've got to tell yourself. Hey, somebody opened up down the street. You know what? I shouldn't matter, because if we're always assuming anybody could open up next to us anytime, we're always improving our skill sets at what we do to make sure when that happens, we're going to be just fine. But see, so many of you out there do not do it, and that is psychology from a purposeful focus. It's, again, having the discipline to make the decisions they're going to help you thrive. Making the decision to be badass at the things you can control. Having the discipline to focus on the things that you can control. Having the discipline to tell yourself the right story to where you look in the mirror and you say, I need to get better in order for when this happens again, I'm going to thrive rather than go down. Now, of course, there's lots of focus talk around you can't focus on 20 things at once. And of course, that's a big part of what we teach is narrowing the focus. But narrowing the focus is not the 4-quadrant system of psychology. Psychology's system is, again, a purposeful focus. And that talks about having the discipline to make the right decisions. The discipline to focus on what you can control and being great at it. If you're distracted out there, everybody, it will lead to indecision. And if you're the person listening, if you are indecisive. Because whether we're indecisive in life, our career, our businesses, it is not the way to do it. We have to make quick decisions in order to make sure our vision is always being pushed forward. When you're indecisive, you're detached, don't let that be you. Motivation is crap. It will never last, no matter what anybody tells you. And like I said, when people come and say, you're the best I've ever seen, I say thank you, but guess what? You're going to forget what I said in 5 minutes. What you have to remember about what I say is you've got to go back and you've got to keep the discipline of doing 20 push-ups every morning. You've got to keep the discipline of doing 10 push-ups at lunch, 10 push-ups before you go to bed. And you need to do that every single day. And then after a week, add 1 or 2 push-ups to each one of those sets and do it every single day. And yes, you can be studying online, a longer-term plan, but that's your short-term plan to start working out. Don't look at the weight scale. Go by how you feel. Go by how your clothes fit. Track your calories. Track your time spent working out. Be disciplined at making the decision to control what you can control. That is all about the 4 stages of psychological focus. I hope you enjoyed today, everybody. Go back and do this. Stay focused. Make an intentional decision to be disciplined around the things that you can control. It will absolutely make a huge impact for the positive in your life, your business, and your career. Make sure to spread the word about the Brian Wright Show. We're looking for as many organic listens as we can. We are in the thousands on the downloads now, and we just started this podcast. So again, I am so pumped because this voice that you hear back here, this is for the new economy. This is for the future. And it's how to implement the future now. And there's other people, no other voice like this. And we're going to rock this, and we're going to keep doing it. And I thank all of you for giving me the motivation to keep this rolling. Hope you're enjoying it. If you want to watch on YouTube, subscribe there. Make sure to hit the thumbs up button. Give us some comments so we can create some chatter. And 5-star review this on whatever podcast you're watching it. Spread the word. Until next time, everybody, we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.